Camp Horne Road. Yes, it is that road you travel on to get to school every day. The road you drive on to go get groceries. The road you ride to go to the pool and the park. But have you ever contemplated the history of what has been right in front of you the whole time? Have you wondered why it's called Camp Horne Road? This road dates back all the way into the 1800s, which expresses just how uniquely interweaved it is into Pittsburgh and Ben Avon area's history and everyday life. Joseph Horne was born in Bedford County, Pennsylvania. His father wished him to follow in his footsteps and become a physician, but he had other plans. He moved to West Pittsburgh and attained his first job working in the retail trade of South Fork fishing. Soon after, he traveled to the F.H. Eaton store and became a partner. In 1849, at 23 years old, he bought out the Eaton store and renamed it the Joseph Horne Company, a name it would possess for more than 145 years. It was located at 63 Market Street in downtown Pittsburgh. The name soon transferred it into an easier nickname, being locally known just as Horne's. He then combined forces with Lorenzo Eaton and brought their intermarried families into the prideful business. A newspaper advertisement from the Pittsburgh Daily Gazette announced that on February 22, 1849, Co-Partnership Lorenzo Eaton and Company has on this date associated with the Mr. Joseph Horne, and the business will hereafter be conducted under the style of Joseph Horne at the old stand number 63 Market between 4th Street and the Diamond. Diamond referring to what is now known as Forbes Avenue. In 1860, Christian Bernard Shea joined the Joseph Horne Company as a partner. He would handle all of the finances while Mr. Horne concentrated on the buying of merchandise and land. In 1865, another partnership was formed with the company with Albert Presley Birchfield. From now on, and to many years to follow, Horne, Shea, and Birchfield families and their descendants directed the company. More products filled the shelves of Horne's department store. Buyers would flock into the store, and as demand increased, Horne thought quickly. Special order dressmaking was incorporated into the business in the late 1870s to expand their buyer field. Women would barge into the store, searching for the perfect dress. In 1881, the company, yet again, needed more space, and they made their main location at Penn Avenue and 5th Street, which is now Stanwick Street. Joseph Horne had planned the building, but did not get to see it finished, because he died in 1892, just before its completion. Just because the great Joseph Horne was gone, did not mean that business was going to stop. His son took over the main part and continued to spread the knowledge and merchandise of Horne's all over Pittsburgh. During the 1910s, Horne joined the Research Retail Association. This helped him keep in touch with other companies and relate their business with profits and loss of money, while still keeping the Horne Company's individual identity. When the Great Flood of St. Patrick's Day struck Pittsburgh in 1936, the whole downtown of Pittsburgh was covered in water. Horne's department store, along with many others, was drenched, and buildings were completely ruined from the amount of water that finagled its way into the buildings. The flood began with heavy rains and expanded into something much worse. The water wall grew to unimaginable heights of 47 feet, leaving over 135,000 people homeless and hundreds injured. This flood lowered all of Horne's profits for the obvious reasons. The employees of Horne's, along with even more others in downtown, worked together to control the construction of dams and waterways in Pittsburgh. The human and economic toll of this flood demonstrated the power of nature and made it clear to Horne's and everyone that necessary change needed to be dealt with immediately. The store later on became Pittsburgh's first completely air-conditioned department store in 1937. In the 1950s, Horne's employed approximately 2,750 full-time workers in 2000 part-time for seasonal help. The annual tradition of displaying a Christmas tree outside was initiated in 1953 and still continues today as an aspect of Light Up Night in downtown Pittsburgh. In that same year, Jonas Salk tested his polio vaccine on 90 volunteers with great results. He shared his ideas with the world over a CBS national radio network, and 2 days later, an article came out praising him, and he instantly became a Pittsburgh celebrity. In April of 1955, the vaccine was announced effective and completely safe. Horne's department store was in the midst of a great expansion in Pittsburgh's specialties. The Horne's department store couldn't live forever, and in 1994, Lazarus bought it for $123 million. The deal was official on June 26, 1994, marking the end of Horne's long, successful history. An extremely successful millionaire and business now sets the backdrop for Camp Horne Road, by whom the road was named after, Joseph Horne. But going back sometime in the early 1900s, during the reign of Hornes in Pittsburgh, more history evolved in the city. Joseph Horne's company bought land and arranged for a summer camp to be held for its employees. Later, the camp would open for anyone who had the money to go. The purpose of this association was to give the younger employees of the Joseph Horne department store the needed summer vacation and a place to spend it without much of any expense. The camp was held in what is now known as Acord Park, and the use was for benefit of the child and teen workers of the Joseph Horne Company. It took 3 years for the employees to reach their startup goal of $5,000 to begin to rent the land for 2 months a year. They acquired donations from Rock Point, Carnegie Mellon, and from friends and family. This camp was just a small attraction back then, only being used by 200 or so members. But the favorite part of the campsite was still well known throughout the city. It was a lake that had been dammed up from Lowry's Run Road. It was used for swimming and rowing, and everyone loved spending their time there in the summer. The employees continued to rent the land every summer, making use of the short time they had it for. 1 week out of the summer, children would be invited up to the camp to have the time of their lives. They were treated like royalty, being served food and having their rooms cleaned. A full-time, real Southern cook named Viola provided the meals. In 1910, a newspaper article came out with the title reading, "Unique and Fascinating Camp Horne at Emsworth, where juveniles are given a royal treatment summer outing." Explains how the workers volunteered and helped out the kids. The kids ended up loving the camp and promoted the camp by bringing more popularity to it. Around 1919, child labor laws came into effect, and as the purpose of the park was to provide a place for child employees, it transformed into a resort-like place for general workers and their families. The commute would normally contain of a train ride from Pittsburgh and then a 2-mile climb to the camp entrance atop Plummer Avenue in Emsworth. The park could accommodate 60 overnighters and gradually increased with popularity. Families would also just come up on days trips with picnics to eat and games to play, just to have fun and spend time in the warm summer air. The camp was one of the most intensive social undertakings of its time, and it was the only one of its kind in the country. The Hornpipe, the newsletter of the camp after it gained popularity, reads, "Camp opens Saturday," in all capital letters and bolded, to attempt to bring in more people to the opening day of camp. The excitement from the people was unknown by camp heads until opening day, when hundreds flooded the entrance gates, ready to begin enjoying their summer. A tradition of the camp was the opening night dance. It celebrated opening night of the camp and featured different musical acts every year. The dance was free to all Horne department store associates and their friends to come and welcome the summer season. People danced and laughs and stories were told, just waiting to start to begin the amazing camp season that would soon follow. In addition to the dance, a variety of activities were always offered. Some like dance lessons with local professionals or athletic organized sports games. The Horne camp had a huge variety of athletic programs like tennis, volleyball, softball, horseshoes, rollerball, and others. To finish filling out the summer program, the camp offered free activities such as moonlight hikes, roasts, campfires, plays and musicals, Saturday night movies, hay rides, treasure hunts, rainy night parties, and many others. The camp had 3 executive members of the activities groupings. They were the planners and directors of the camp. Sam Ewert, the athletic director, planned games and scheduled sports and other athletic-related activities. Tom Dunlap, the dance chairman, is in charge of the weekly dances that take place in the camp. And Herb Guire, the entertainment chairman, arranges all of the other activities like hikes, campfires, talent shows, and other unathletic-related camp activities. Perennial campers were the Mr. and Mrs. A.H. Birchfield, who actually built one of the lodges in the camp. They were partners of the Horne's department store at this time and took full advantage of their authority. They came every week to have fun in the camp and interact with other visitors to promote the camp. In December of 1923, after 15 years of the Horne's employee camp, the Allegheny County Commissioner's Office agreed to pave the road below the Ben Avon Heights Road. It was named Horne Camp Road, being as it was the road leading to Horne's camp. But it was later changed to Camp Horne Road, what it is known as now. Miss Aileen Riggin also came to be a guest one weekend at Camp Horne. She had been giving exhibitions of swimming and diving in the city playground pools and came to do the same at Camp Horne. Many newspaper articles came out showing pictures of kids playing in the sun at Camp Horne, which just made the line of people coming into the camp longer. The Camp Horne Road Project, as it was called, consists of a beautiful swimming pool and a service to improve recreational activities in the area. And also, with the help of the Avonworth Athletic Association, a baseball and soccer complex were built. A state-of-the-art playground designed by Robert Leathers was constructed for the children of Avonworth to enjoy the warm summer days. This park, including all of the amenities just spoken, is known as Acord Park and is a great place for neighborhood families to spend their time in the summer and any other spring warm season. In 1985, Pittsburgh was named America's Most Livable City. This came from the industrial mark that was made with Andrew Carnegie, Frick, Robert Hines, and Westinghouse to put Pittsburgh economically ahead. They made Pittsburgh strong in the past, and for 40 years we have been working hard to make it a more environmentally friendly place. After completing ample amounts of research, I can strongly say that Joseph Horne was a big name in advancing Pittsburgh's economy as well as the big name manufacturers. The history of Horne's department store and the summer camp has molded the landscaping and everyday life of our community today. Thousands of people use Camp Horne Road now to travel, to get groceries, to go to the park, to go to work, and to go to school. It is in use every day, and now you know just how it was created. Kim Gorley, a former seasonal employee of Horne's department store men's clothing section, explained to me how the store and the road impact her life today. It was one of her first jobs making minimum wage to help pay for her car and apartment rent. Joseph Horne's had a long-standing reputation in Pittsburgh, so she was and is proud to be an employee there. Ms. Gorley never actually knew the history with the camp existed, but thinking about it now, she is surprised and honored to be a part of it. She also drives Camp Horne Road every day taking both of her kids to school, and it's the first road that leads her to 279 for work. It quickly became a very important thoroughfare of her life. History is always interesting, and Miss Gorley was delighted to hear about being part of the story. And as a former employee, she was shocked to find herself unaware of the camp. The store does not exist anymore, and Acorn Park replaces the camp. Ms. Gorley loves being so-called a part of history. So there you have it, the story of a very important road in Pittsburgh's history. Camp Horne Road has made it possible for children to go to school, go to parks, get ice cream, for parents to go to work, and to travel on to new parts of the world. The Horne's department store, in its time, innovated the world. It was the first of many things in Pittsburgh, from air conditioning to being involved with multiple departments. It has also expanded Pittsburgh by having the first summer camp for employees of a store ever before. On top of that, Horne's was built on many prominent streets, which have continued to be important in Pittsburgh today. John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie began a huge manufacturing empire in their time, and Joseph Horne was the 1900s comparison to that. Now yes, he wasn't quite in the magnitude of them, but he made something out of nothing that has shaped the ideas of Pittsburgh today.